What if the fruit you're eating to stay healthy is actually spiking your blood sugar without you realizing it? Today we're cutting through the confusion to reveal which fruits truly help and which ones quietly harm. What I'm about to tell you is something most doctors don't say out loud. The advice given to people with diabetes about fruit is a mess. A genuine, contradictory, confusing mess. And it's not your fault if you don't know what to believe. I'm Dr. Ethan Parker. In over 2 decades of working with patients with diabetes, I've heard the same 3 stories again and again. The first patient tells me their nutritionist said fruit is basically sugar and they should treat it like candy. Avoid it almost entirely. The second patient heard from a wellness influencer that fruit is natural sugar, so it does not count. Eat as much as you want. The third patient read a headline saying tropical fruits are dangerous, but did not see anything about which ones or why or how much. 3 completely different answers, all from people claiming authority. No wonder you are paralyzed. And what happens because of that paralysis? Some of you have stopped eating fruit entirely. You are missing fiber, vitamins, and compounds. Your body genuinely needs to fight the complications of diabetes. Others are eating fruit freely with no strategy at all, then checking your glucose numbers and wondering why they keep climbing. Neither group has been given the real tools to make confident decisions. That changes. Today, I am going to walk you through the 10 best fruits for people managing their blood sugar and the 5 fruits that demand serious caution. Not based on guesswork or fear, based on the science of how each fruit actually behaves inside your body. We are going to be specific. We are going to be honest. And by the end of this, you are going to feel like you finally have a clear map. But I want to say something first, and I need you to actually hear it. There is no fruit on this planet that I am going to tell you can never touch your lips again. Not one. That kind of thinking leads to failure, obsession, and eventually giving up entirely. What I believe in is understanding. When you understand how a food behaves, you stop fearing it and start managing it. That is a completely different and far more powerful way to live. People with diabetes should eat fruit. The question is which ones, how much, and when. Let us build that understanding right now. Drop your country in the comments. I read every single one. And if this is your first time here, subscribe and hit the notification bell because this is exactly the kind of content I put out every week. Before we get into the list, I need to give you 2 tools because without these tools, the list is just a list. With these tools, you will understand the why behind every single item and you will be able to apply this logic to foods I have not even mentioned. The first tool is the glycemic index or GI. Think of this as a measure of speed. Specifically, how fast does the sugar from a particular food enter your bloodstream? A GI above 70 means sugar hits your blood like a sudden wave. Your glucose spikes sharply, your pancreas panics, and your body is in reactive mode. A GI below 55 means the sugar enters slowly, smoothly, like a gentle tide. That is what we want. The second tool is glycemic load, or GL, and this one is critically underused. If GI is speed, GL is total volume. It tells you how much sugar actually lands in your bloodstream when you eat a realistic serving of that food. A GL under 10 is considered safe. A GL above 20 is a serious red flag. Here is the rule I want you to carry with you for the rest of your life. When choosing fruit for blood sugar management, you want both low GI and low GL. One without the other is incomplete information. And one more thing before we dive in, I am going to hold everything to the same standard weight, roughly 4 ounces or 120 g. That way we are comparing reality to reality, not a tiny handful to a massive bowl. Let's go through 10 fruits that help control blood sugar. The last one is the one I recommend most. Number 10 is plums. Plums do not get the attention they deserve. With a GI of 39 and a GL of just 5, they sit comfortably in the safe zone. If you want something naturally sweet that will not ambush your glucose levels, a plum is a trustworthy choice. They are also rich in vitamin C and contain compounds that support liver function, which matters more than most people realize for those managing insulin sensitivity. Number 9 is pears. A perfectly ripe pear has a GI of 38 and a GL of 4. Excellent numbers. But here is what I want you to notice about pears specifically. The fiber is not evenly distributed throughout the fruit. A large portion of it is concentrated just beneath the skin. If you peel your pear, you are peeling away significant protection. Eat it whole, skin on. That fiber acts as a physical barrier that slows the release of sugar into your blood. Do not throw that away. Number 8 is apples. GI of 36, GL of 6. You already know apples are good for you, but let me be more specific. Apples contain a soluble fiber called pectin. Pectin does not just slow sugar absorption. It also acts in your digestive tract to help reduce LDL cholesterol, which is your bad cholesterol. For a person with diabetes, cardiovascular risk is the number one long-term concern. Eating an apple with its skin is doing two jobs at once. Never underestimate the humble apple. Number 7 is passion fruit. GI of 27, GL of 5. Those are remarkable numbers. Passion fruit is one of the most blood sugar-friendly fruits in existence, and most people have never considered adding it to their regular rotation. Here is the bonus. Passion fruit contains natural compounds with a mild sedative effect that supports deep quality sleep. Why does a diabetes channel care about sleep? Because poor sleep directly worsens insulin resistance. One bad night of sleep can raise your fasting glucose the next morning as though you had eaten poorly. Passion fruit is not just a snack, it is a nighttime strategy. Number 6 is oranges. And I need you to stop here for a moment, because what I am about to say has more practical impact on your daily blood sugar than almost anything else in this video. A whole orange eaten with all its segments intact has a GI of 40 and a GL of 5. Safe, nutritious, genuinely beneficial. But drinking orange juice is not the same thing. They are not the same food. They are not interchangeable. Think about your own morning for a second. If you pour yourself a glass of orange juice, maybe you use 2 or 3 oranges to fill that glass. Now ask yourself honestly, would you ever sit down and eat 3 whole oranges in one sitting? Probably not. You would eat one, feel satisfied, and stop. But in juice form, those 3 oranges go down in under a minute, and you barely notice it happened. The fiber that would have slowed everything down is gone, left behind in the pulp. What reaches your bloodstream is essentially a concentrated wave of sugar. The GL of that glass climbs above 20, which is the red zone. This is one of those moments where the healthiest seeming habit is quietly working against you. Fresh squeezed, organic, no added sugar, and still a problem. Because it is not about what was added, it is about what was removed. The fiber was removed, and the fiber is the protection. Eat your orange, do not drink it. Number 5 is kiwi. GI of 38, GL of 9. Kiwi earns its place here for 2 reasons. One is obvious. It is genuinely low in its glucose impact. The second reason is what makes it particularly valuable for diabetic patients specifically. Kiwi is dense in antioxidants, particularly vitamin C and vitamin E together, that have been shown in studies to help reduce blood pressure. Why does that matter here? Because approximately 2/3 of people with type 2 diabetes also develop high blood pressure. Managing both conditions simultaneously through food choices is enormously valuable. Kiwi lets you fight on 2 fronts at once. Number 4 is strawberries. GI of 41, GL of 3. That GL of 3 puts strawberries among the safest fruits you can eat for blood sugar management. But the real story of strawberries is in a class of pigment molecules called anthocyanins. These are the compounds that give strawberries their deep red color, and they are among the most potent cardiovascular protectors available through food. The blood vessels that feed your heart, kidneys, and eyes are the structures most at risk as diabetes progresses over time. Anthocyanins directly support the integrity of those vessels. Eat strawberries frequently, not just occasionally. Number 3 is guava. GI of 23, GL of 3. I want you to notice that GI of 23, that is extraordinarily low. For context, white bread sits at around 75. A guava and a slice of white bread could not be more different in how they treat your blood sugar, and they can cost similar amounts at the grocery store. I also want to knock down a myth right here that has genuinely scared people away from fruit they should be eating. The claim is that fructose, the sugar found in fruit, damages the liver, and therefore all fruit is dangerous for diabetics. This is false, and it needs to be said clearly. Fructose becomes harmful when it arrives in concentrated form as in sodas, corn syrup, and processed juices. The liver processes concentrated fructose in a way that causes problems over time. But the fructose naturally present in a whole guava arrives alongside fiber, water, vitamins, and polyphenols that completely change the metabolic picture. Your liver is not treating a guava the same way it treats a can of soda. Do not let fear of a word keep you from a genuinely health-supporting food. Number 2 is peaches. GI of 42, GL of 4. Peaches are one of the most forgiving fruits in existence for people managing blood sugar, sweet enough to satisfy a craving, low enough in their glycemic impact to be a genuine safe harbor. And I want to use this moment to answer a question I receive constantly. Does this list apply to prediabetics, to type 1, to someone newly diagnosed with type 2? The answer is yes to all of them. The principles here serve anyone with any form of blood glucose management challenge. They are not exclusive to advanced diabetes. They are simply good science. Number 1 is fresh cherries. GI of 27, GL of 6, as close to perfect numbers as you will find in the fruit world. But I want to emphasize the word fresh because there is a version of cherries that is the exact opposite of what I am recommending. Those bright, artificially colored cherries preserved in syrup, the ones used to decorate desserts and cocktails. They have been sitting in concentrated sugar for months. They bear essentially no relationship to fresh cherries. Stay far from those. Fresh cherries, in addition to their remarkable glycemic profile, contain anthocyanins and other anti-inflammatory compounds that research has linked to reduced vascular inflammation. And vascular inflammation is one of the primary drivers of the cardiovascular complications that diabetes can cause over decades. If there is one fruit I would most want to see in a diabetic patient's kitchen every week, it is fresh cherries. That completes the top 10. But now I need you to concentrate even more closely, because what comes next is where a lot of people make quiet, consistent mistakes without ever realizing it. These are not obviously dangerous fruits. They show up in wellness plans, smoothie recipes, and hospital cafeterias. They have good reputations. And for someone managing blood sugar, that good reputation is exactly what makes them so easy to underestimate. We have been in safe territory. Now we move into a different zone. I call these the high-stakes fruits. Not forbidden, not poison, but demanding. Eating them carelessly is like driving on a wet road at high speed. You might be fine, but the margin for error is much smaller than you think. Number 5 on the caution list is papaya. GI of 58, GL of 10. Papaya is genuinely useful for digestion. It contains an enzyme called papain that helps break down proteins and can relieve bloating and discomfort. I do not want to dismiss that benefit. It is real. But for someone with diabetes, the digestive benefit and the glucose impact arrive together. You cannot get one without the other. And at a GL of 10, papaya is sitting right at the boundary of what is considered safe. If you eat papaya, keep portions small, eat it alongside protein, and do not make it a daily staple. Number 4 on the caution list is pineapple. GI of 59, GL of 14. Pineapple is refreshing and has built an impressive wellness reputation. You have probably seen claims that it burns fat, detoxifies the body, and reduces inflammation through an enzyme called bromelain. Some of that has scientific support, but your pancreas does not know about pineapple's reputation. It only knows about the sugar load. And at a GL of 14, pineapple delivers a substantial glucose challenge. Half a cup maximum, not a bowl, not as a freebie, because it seems healthy. Treat pineapple with respect. Number 3 on the caution list is mango. GI of 56, GL of 14. Mango is beloved all over the world, and I completely understand why. The taste is extraordinary, and the culture around it is real. But I want to address a very specific mistake I see constantly, and I need you to hear this clearly. Some people believe that if you add chia seeds or flax seeds to a mango smoothie, you have made it safe for blood sugar. I have to be honest with you, that is a trap. Here is what is actually happening. The seeds slow down the rate at which sugar enters your blood. That is the glycemic index effect, slower absorption. But the glycemic load, the total volume of sugar your body has to process, is completely unchanged. Your pancreas still has to deal with every single gram of that mango sugar. You have just stretched the timeline, not reduced the burden. Think of it this way. Imagine you owe money. Someone offers to let you pay in smaller installments instead of one lump sum. The debt does not shrink. You are still paying every cent. That is what chia does to mango. Do not use superfoods as permission slips for portion discipline. They do not work that way. Number 2 on the caution list is bananas. GI of 62, GL of 16. Bananas are everywhere. They are cheap, portable, familiar, and genuinely nutritious. The potassium content, the B vitamins, the energy they provide, I acknowledge all of it. But look at that GL of 16. Earlier we talked about avocado with a GL of only 2. A banana delivers 8 times the blood sugar load of an avocado. That comparison is not designed to frighten you, it is designed to help you understand the scale of what you are consuming. If you want to eat bananas, there are 2 rules. First, choose ones that are just ripe with some green still in the peel. A banana covered in brown spots has already converted most of its starch into fast-acting sugar. The riper the banana, the higher the glycemic impact. Second, eat half, not the whole thing, half alongside some protein. And number 1 on the caution list, the fruit that tops it for a reason that goes beyond chemistry is grapes. GI of 61, GL of 12. The problem with grapes is not just in the numbers. It is in what happens every single time a person sits down with a bunch of them. You plan to eat 5. You eat 1, then another, then another. The small size creates the feeling that nothing significant is happening, and before you register it, you have eaten 20 or 25 grapes and consumed the sugar equivalent of a candy bar. Grapes contain resveratrol, a polyphenol with genuine antioxidant properties. That is real. But the portion problem that grapes create in practice is equally real. If you want grapes, count them out before you eat a single one. Set your number at 10 and stop there. Never eat directly from the bunch. Before we get to the special case, I know many of you have been waiting for, I have to warn you about 2 dangers that are more serious than any individual fruit on either of these lists. The first is dried fruit. Raisins, dried apricots, dried mango, prunes, dried cranberries. Think about what drying a fruit actually does. You are removing the water. That is it. But water is precisely what dilutes the sugar in whole fruit. Remove the water, and the sugar stays now compressed into a tiny volume. A small handful of raisins carries the glycemic load of multiple whole grapes. Their GL regularly exceeds 30. For people managing blood sugar, dried fruit is not fruit. It is concentrated sugar with a health halo. Treat it that way. The second danger is ripeness, and this is basic biochemistry that almost no one talks about. As fruit ripens, the starches inside convert to sugars. This is a continuous, predictable chemical process. A banana that is slightly green contains substantial resistant starch that is absorbed slowly and actually feeds beneficial gut bacteria. That same banana left to develop brown spots has converted most of that starch into glucose and fructose that absorb rapidly. Same fruit, same size, potentially very different blood sugar outcome depending entirely on when you eat it. Choose fruit at peak ripeness or just before. Do not wait until it is soft and excessively sweet. Now watermelon. I know a significant number of you have been waiting for this name to appear. You noticed it was not in the top 10 and not in the caution 5. That was not an oversight. Watermelon is a genuinely unique case, and it deserves its own explanation. From a nutrient standpoint, watermelon is remarkable. It contains L-citrulline, a compound that helps relax and dilate blood vessels, which directly supports healthy blood pressure. For someone with diabetes, where cardiovascular risk is already elevated, that is a meaningful benefit. From a glycemic index standpoint, watermelon scores very high above 72. That looks alarming on paper. But here is the paradox. The glycemic load of a standard 120-gram portion is only 4 because watermelon is 92% water. There simply is not that much sugar in a realistic serving, even though what sugar is there moves fast. So in theory, moderate watermelon is quite manageable for most people with diabetes. But here is where I need you to be honest with yourself. Think about the last time you had watermelon. Did you cut a precise 4 ounces slice, eat it, and genuinely stop? Or did you keep going because it was cool and sweet and refreshing and the bowl was still right there in front of you? Most people know the answer without thinking too hard. The trap is not in the watermelon, it is in what watermelon does to your sense of portion. If you have the self-awareness to eat one measured serving and put it down, watermelon can be a genuinely good choice. If not, the speed of its sugar absorption combined with the reality of how much you actually eat can create real problems. Only you know which category you fall into. Be honest with yourself about that. I want to speak to you directly for a moment, not as a doctor reading from a list, but as someone who has sat across from thousands of people navigating exactly what you are navigating right now. I read the comments on these videos every single day, and beneath the questions about glycemic indices and medication names and which fruits are safe, I hear something else. I hear exhaustion. I hear people who have received so many contradictory instructions from so many different voices that they have stopped trusting their own judgment entirely. People who feel like every food choice is either quietly saving them or slowly destroying them. That is an exhausting way to move through the world. And I want you to know that I see it. Here is what I also know. Trying to change everything about the way you eat in 1 week is the most reliable path to changing nothing permanently. Radical overhauls feel powerful in the first few days. They rarely last beyond 2 weeks. Small, specific, consistent changes are what actually move the needle over months and years. So here is what I am asking you to do tomorrow. Just tomorrow. Not a new lifestyle, not a complete overhaul. Just one thing. Tomorrow, look at your breakfast. Breakfast determines your glucose trajectory for the entire day. A high-sugar breakfast creates a cascade of cravings, reactive hunger, and elevated glucose that can follow you all the way through to dinner. A stable breakfast changes the arc of the whole day. If you currently start your morning with sweetened cereal, white toast, fruit juice, or a blended fruit smoothie, try this instead. 2 eggs, any style, and 1 fruit from the top 10 list, eaten whole, a peach, a handful of strawberries, a couple of plums, nothing complicated, nothing expensive. The protein from the eggs slows everything down and keeps you full. The fiber from the whole fruit does the same. And here is what most people notice the first time they try it. The mid-morning crash disappears. The craving that usually hits an hour after breakfast. The fatigue, the sudden hunger. It largely goes away when your morning meal stops being a glucose spike in disguise. Start there. 1 meal, 1 change. Give it 5 days and pay attention to what your body tells you. When that change feels like your normal, add the next one. Progress built on small, consistent wins is permanent. Perfect plans abandoned in frustration are not. Let us bring it all together. The 10 fruits you can eat with confidence, because they combine low glycemic index with low glycemic load, are plums, pears, apples, passion fruit, whole oranges, kiwi, strawberries, guava, peaches, and fresh cherries. These are not just safe options. They are genuinely therapeutic. They provide nutrients that protect your cardiovascular system, support your immune function, and help your body manage insulin more effectively. The 5 fruits that require real caution are papaya, pineapple, mango, bananas, and grapes. They are not forbidden. They are demanding, smaller portions, careful attention to ripeness, never in dried or blended form, and always alongside protein to buffer the glucose impact. And the 2 rules that sit above all of it. Whole fruit always beats juice or smoothie, and riper fruit always carries more sugar than fruit eaten at peak ripeness or just before. Managing diabetes is not a war against food. It is a project of understanding. The more precisely you understand how the foods you love behave inside your body, the more freedom you actually have. Not less freedom, more. If someone in your life is managing their blood sugar and struggling to make sense of all the noise around fruit, share this video with them. It might genuinely change how they approach something they have been afraid of. That kind of share means more to me than any algorithm. And if you are not subscribed yet, this is the moment. I make these videos because I believe that clear science-based information in the hands of real people changes health outcomes. That is the mission. I am Dr. Ethan Parker. Take good care of yourself. I will see you in the next